Greetings. Welcome to our lesson on formatting titles. In MLA, when you write the name of a published work, it comes with a certain format. And in this lesson, we're going to go over which format certain published works get. Okay, so there are three formats for titles that we're going to talk about here in this lesson. One format is for short works. Short works get quote marks around the titles. The second format is for long works. Long work titles are italicized. And the third format is unformatted, where you just capitalize the first letters of the important words in the title. For all three of these, you do capitalize the first letters of the important words. If you don't know which letters to capitalize or which words to capitalize those first letters in, look it up. Look at that title so that you present it the way that it's published. If there's no particular way that it's published, then just capitalize the important words. If you're not sure, put capital letters on the beginning of all the words. All right, so let's start with short works. Short works are works that generally fit into longer works. So for an article, it could be a newspaper article, a magazine article, a journal article. But article titles, when you write an article title, put quote marks around it. Poem titles, get quote marks around them. Chapters, it could be a chapter of a book, a chapter of a textbook, a chapter of a storybook. If that chapter has a name, put quote marks around it. Song titles get quote marks around them. Web pages, just the page, not the entire website, but just that web page. A lot of times you'll look at articles online and the web page, the title of the page is the title of that article. So the web page title gets quotes around it. Entries. These can be entries in a journal or a diary, like the Diary of Anne Frank. If the entry has a name to it, or it could even be a date, put quotes around it. Episodes fit into a larger body of work. It can be TV series or a podcast series, but the episode, that title is a short work, so it gets put in quote marks. And scenes, sometimes you have a scene that has a name to it, and that scene is a short work, so it gets quotes put around it. Long works. Now, the short works that I just mentioned and that you see on the screen here, all can fit into long works. So let's start with our first long work. Now, when you write the titles of these long works, you're going to italicize them. Don't bold them, don't underline them, don't put them in all caps, italicize. They go in italics. So a newspaper title, the New York Times, the Philadelphia Inquirer, the Washington Post, those get put in italics. Every time you write a newspaper title, put it in italics. Journals, these can be academic journals or published memoir journals. The title, when you write that title, put it in italics. Magazines have articles. It's a long work, put it in italics. A book, books are long works. They usually have chapters. Sometimes they have articles. Sometimes they have poems. Put that book title in italics. An album. An album is a long work because it holds shorter works, which are songs. So that album title goes in italics. A website. A website holds web pages. That website is a long work, so that title of that website gets put in italics. like CNN.com, put it in italics. Diaries, like I mentioned before, the Diary of Anne Frank, or a memoir, put it in italics. TV series or a podcast series, if you write Seinfeld, talking about the TV series, put it in italics. If you write, what's a podcast series? Wait, don't tell me. The NPR News Quiz. If you write that, put it in italics. It's the title of a series. Movies. Movies are long works. They have scenes in them, and just in general, they are long works. Put the title of movies in italics. Scarface, The Godfather, The Notebook, put them in italics. And plays. Plays have scenes and acts. Sometimes the acts and the scenes don't have titles to them, but because they are made up of those shorter segments, a play is a long work. A play title goes in italics. Now, for the unformatted titles, most of them that you'll write are going to be unpublished works and government documents. For the unpublished works, these are titles that are just not published. You could be writing an essay and you refer to an essay that you wrote. An essay is a short work, but if it's not published, it doesn't get that quote designation, that quote mark designation. So you just capitalize the first letters of the important words in that title. Government documents, we don't give government documents the quote marks or the italics as we do with published works. So the Declaration of Independence is just going to be the first letters of the words are going to be capitalized. It says government and then documents. It's supposed to be government documents. White papers. White papers are what they're documents that not many people have even heard of, but white papers are documents that are used within the government or just within a company. And they could be things like instruction manuals or operating procedures. These are things that they could be published and they could be copyrighted, but they work just within that confined entity. So these things don't get put into quote marks and they don't get put into italics. Just capitalize the first letters of the important words and you'll be fine. So remember, from here on out, when you write a title, consider whether it is a short work and you put it in quotes, a long work and you italicize it, or an unformatted work where you don't you don't put it in quotes and you don't italicize it. You just capitalize the first letters of the important words. Now, at no point in MLA, when it comes to these titles, are you going to underline anything. No underlining. Don't even bother underlining anything. At no point are you going to put anything in bold. No bolding. Don't even bother bolding anything within your essay. It's only quote marks, italicizing it, or just leaving it unformatted. And this is part of the reason why you don't use these formats just to try to emphasize something that you're saying. Everything you do in MLA has a designation. So don't just format some words because you think it brings emphasis to it. If you want to emphasize something, use your words to make sure that that subject or that thing gets the attention that it needs. Don't use formatting to try to give it that attention. And that's our lesson on formatting titles.